Reinsurance is one area in which IFRS 17 introduces new complexities relative to the old accounting systems. In addition, some of the changes will affect key measures that are currently used to assess the performance of reinsurers, such as premium volumes and the size of the balance sheet. There are a number of new challenges in this area. One big change is the requirement for both parties to estimate reinsurance cash flows where the underlying insurance policies have yet to be written. This causes a disconnect between the gross liabilities on a cedant's balance sheet and the reinsurance assets of the same company. There will also be a similar difference between the gross liabilities of the insurer and reinsurer, respectively. This is a particularly important consideration for any intra-group quota shares. To add to this, a cedant may be required to use the building block approach or general model to measure their assets under a reinsurance treaty, even when the premium allocation approach is used for the underlying insurance policies. This is because a treaty covering one-year policies will have a coverage period greater than 1 year if it is written on a risks attaching basis. In addition, reinsurers will have to carefully consider the impact of contract boundaries, particularly with respect to optional termination clauses. For example, if a 1-year treaty has a 90-day termination clause, at what point should projected cash flows be considered to be outside the boundary of the contract? For situations where the underlying insurance policies are expected to be onerous, you may have heard that there will be a mismatch on day one, where the cedant is required to immediately recognise the loss in their P&L while deferring the associated gain on the reinsurance contract through their balance sheet. However, in a meeting in January this year, the IASB tentatively decided to amend the standard to also allow the expected gains on proportional reinsurance contracts to flow through to the P&L on day one. However, the mismatch is still in place for non-proportional reinsurance cover. One of the major areas where performance measures will be affected is in respect of commissions for proportional reinsurance. Where a ceding commission is not contingent on claims, the effect under IFRS 17 is to reduce the premium received by the reinsurer. Therefore, the value of these ceding commissions would not be included in the calculation of the reinsurer's income. However, where the size of a commission depends on the value of claims, or where a reinstatement premium is payable after a loss, the effect is to alter the amount of claims reimbursed. Therefore, the value of those amounts would be recognised as an insurance service expense. The presentation of funds withheld is also due to change under the new standard, as the reinsurer will be required to consider these within the fulfilment cash flows, rather than presenting the funds as assets on the balance sheet. This is also required for premiums receivable and claims payable more generally. This point was discussed at a recent board meeting, but the IASB decided not to amend the standard in this respect. IFRS 17 will significantly change the accounting for reinsurance contracts for both cedants and reinsurers, and we only scratched the surface on this here. If you have any questions concerning how your company may be affected by the changeover to IFRS 17 or on any aspect of the standard, please do reach out to any member of Deloitte's IFRS 17 team.